chat. Happy Thursday. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. For those of you just joining me for the first time, welcome. And for those of you that join me regularly, welcome back. I am in the newer, well, I'm not in the newest, but I'm in the newer garden here today. Hey, Matt Farms, thanks for joining me. This is the full sun, partial shade, mostly shade garden that I went live in months ago that we were just getting started. Hey, Asia Joe, thanks for joining me. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. So today's topic is, what can I plant now? And I'm going to share a little bit of just not right now, but maybe going forward, because some of you like to plan and some of you just like to wing it. And I am all for it, so I'm going to share with you both options. Recently, I shared a couple articles on heat-tolerant crops because it's hot. Hey, Krista. Hey, neighbor. Hey, Caitlin. So I am in East Texas, which is specifically Ben Wheeler, Texas. We are having a cold snap, which is in the 80s coming up instead of over 90, feels like over 100, 105, something like that. Hello, San Antonio, CJ Craig and Shirls. So it's hot here. It's sticky. It's humid. And I'm loving every second of it in the garden. You can see behind me here, we've got squash and peppers, tomatoes, more tomatoes, and then Okinawa pink okra. Super excited about that. That's a new arrival for this year. You can see it's pink. It's super cute. I am growing these for more seed saving for next year. So we've got 2 raised beds with half of them have the Okinawa pink okra. Super fun. Hey, Harold, you are literally my neighbor in the next town over. And so tonight I'm going to talk about what you can grow now, what you can plan to grow very soon, and then I'm also going to give you a breakdown not just for Texas. Thank you for joining us in Arkansas. So I have grown in zone 10, zone 9, zone 8, and that was Hey Agape Field, thanks for joining me. Southern California, no, I'm sorry, in order, I should say, would be South Florida, specifically Hollywood, Florida, which is way south, just before Miami. And then we had Southern California, where I was born and raised, and I lived a little more rural when I went back there last time. Oh my gosh, Christian and Inga and Jenny, thanks for joining us. And then now I'm in East Texas. So all of the zones, more warmer zones, obviously. I've never grown in zone 5, but I do have customers in that area, and I have information, super simple information that I want to help you grow a healthy garden. What to plant and when to plant is going to depend on, right now specifically, your current temperature. If it's hot, you're going to be wanting to be planting super hot stuff. And then if you are getting into colder regions coming up soon, I'm sorry, I sprayed myself with natural mosquito, and they're still getting me. It's been a crazy month, I'll tell you that much right now. I've had so many things going on. I donated blood last week because I know our local blood bank really needed it, and I have a blood type that they need. And I gotten pretty good, and my arm's pretty sore. So it's been a rough week for me, but not as rough as for some people. So I'm definitely not complaining. It's just been a crazy week. It's been a crazy month. Let's just say it's been a crazy month. Hey, Jennifer B, thanks for joining us. So if you have a shorter growing season, you're probably looking at fall crops coming up soon. If you have a longer growing season, like those of us in Texas, Florida, for example, I'll discuss that with you in just a second, you're going to be still growing warm tolerant crops or heat tolerant crops because it's still really hot, and it's going to be hot for a little while. If you're in a region with little to no frost, like those of you in Florida, I still have friends and family down there. So if you're in that area, you're going to be wanting to look at our Florida specific planting guides, because I will tell you, you are gearing up for the big time planting season coming up August, September. So in a recent email, the topic was, what can I plant right now? And I wanted to share that in a video as well. If you don't already get my emails, I will tell you this right now, you're totally missing out on some awesome stuff. If you signed up for my emails and you're not getting it, I highly recommend checking out my, checking out your spam folder and your other folder, because I've got the beautiful sun shining on me right here, because it might be stuck in another folder where you're not really getting it. So if you want to plant some amazingly awesome warm tolerant crops, I have a fantastic list for you. And I actually wrote it down because it's hard for me to remember all the things at one time, even though some topics I can discuss in my sleep, like heat tolerant crops, because I absolutely love them. Sometimes I need a little bit of a help. So the first and foremost is going to be okra. I already mentioned it. Right now, there we got Okinawa pink okra, which is beautiful, and that's going to be 60 plus days. Usually you want to give it 70 days depending on where you are. So that is going to determine how long from seed to harvest that you have until you can start harvesting that crop. And let me see if I can scoot over so that my face isn't in the sun. I get enough sun as it is and enough in the heat as it is. So cowpeas are another one. So I grabbed a couple things here for you so I could just share specifics. Christian says, got anything sweet I can plant that doesn't grow too big? Absolutely. Stay tuned. I have the perfect one for you, Christian. Literally, I'm not kidding you. I have the perfect one. So if you want to grow some basil, that's really going to be a short variety, like a 45 to 60 days. But I started out talking about okra. Beck's Big Buck Okra. Not the pink okra. That one's originally from Texas, and it's a fan-freaking-tastic variety to grow. So Beck's Big Buck Okra. It is round or rounder. It's not the really long cylindrical like you get with the Okinawa or the Clemson spineless, but it's still a really good one. And as far as cowpeas go, hands down, probably the most popular and my favorite is going to be the pink eye purple hull, or purple hull pink eye, however you like to describe it, is a fantastic cowpea. That's also going to be your black eyed peas. They're in the same group. So if you want to plant a black eyed pea as well, those just take a little longer than your standard cowpea. Next on the list, I already mentioned basil, and probably one of my favorites is going to be the dark purple opal basil, because it's just pretty. If you notice, I like pretty stuff. I mean, I do have some green that I really like. I'm looking right here at the sweet basil, perfectly beautiful variety, and it's thriving right now in the heat. I'm telling you, it's been hot and it's fantastic. I got peppers growing here. Somebody's talking about peppers. Jackie Jack says I have to dig up a big area where my peppers and tomatoes are for sewer issues. Oh, bummer. They may survive, they may not. I'm really sorry. Yeah, they may or may not survive, but relocate if you can. Totally. Just baby them. Last video I shared about all the different soil amendments that I use, and the super kelp is one thing that will help with transplant shock, so definitely check that one out. That might help you. Christian, I have the perfect option for you. Minnesota midget melon is fantastic. It is 70 plus days from seed to harvest. It is on the smaller end. It's more of what we would call a personal melon. So check that one out. Minnesota midget melon is a fantastic one for you if you're looking for something that's going to be a shorter maturing variety. Amaranth, hello, fantastic as well. Amaranth is good. 14 days if you want a microgreen, that's from seed. 45 plus days if you want to start harvesting the greens, and it's more like 90 days if you want to harvest the actual seeds. Now you might be thinking, why would I want to harvest the seeds if I don't really need to do the whole seed saving thing? Well, amaranth seeds are similar to quinoa. If you don't know what either of those are, you can cook it like rice. So very, very good. Christian says 91 didn't feel it that much. Minnesota midget melon, yes. All of these will grow in right now. You can plant if you have that much time before it starts to cool down. I'm not talking about frost dates, just talking about cooling down. Dill, 60 plus days, another fantastic option. Cucumbers. Now, here's where it gets fun. There are some cucumbers that are far more heat tolerant than others. You can't see it, but in the second bed not the first bed that you can see, but the second bed of Okinawa pink okra. Keep wanting to say spinach because there's an Okinawa spinach that I don't have yet, but I will. We have bush crop cucumber, and this has been in the sun and partial shade in the afternoon. So it's 5 o'clock and most of this garden is in the shade, which is why it's probably doing pretty well in this heat. I also have a garden over here, way over there, that is in full sun most of the day, and that's thriving as well. Now, which cucumbers are thriving in that garden are Punikira, Armenian cucumber, and Suyo long cucumber. All three of those varieties do really well in hot weather. So those are varieties that you want to look for. And I grabbed the Punikira here. So Punikira is kind of funny. It's really weird. It looks like a russet potato. It's brown when it's mature. So you can harvest it really early when it's in the white yellow stage. But then if you let it continue to mature, you can still eat it when it's kind of brown and funky looking. And the Suyo long, I was harvesting a little too late, I think, because the outer skin was too thick. So harvest those around 15 inches. Don't wait till they get 18 to 19 inches. The Armenian cucumber, on the other hand, I was harvesting at 15 to 19 inches. And I recently gave one to a friend, and she chopped it up for her kids, and they loved it. She said the seeds were, you could tell there were seeds, but they weren't like super tough that you were just like, oh, I got to spit this out. So Armenian cucumber this year is definitely the breadwinner. It is fantastic. It's still producing. It's beautiful. There's zero pests, knock on wood. I just said that. But there's zero pests on my Armenian cucumbers, which is fantastic. So definitely, if you're looking for something you can plant right now in the heat and maybe you have a long season, definitely check those out. The Punikira is about 55 days from seed to harvest, and it looks a little funky, and I'm always looking for weird stuff to grow. By the way, if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. In the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide, a link to marysheirloomseeds.com, as well as the seed sale. Hey Melinda, we've got a seed sale going on, and it is prep for fall. You can use the discount code and you'll save 20% on our fall collection, and I will discuss a couple fall crops before I'm done with this video. Beans, you can plant bush beans or pole beans right now. Bush beans usually produce for about 3 to 4 weeks and then they're kind of done, whereas pole beans can kind of produce the whole season. So it really depends on what you're growing and what you want. Here's my dilemma. Florida's weather and temperature can change in a heartbeat. 1 minute. All right, so let me share specifically for my Florida customers, because I started Mary's Heirloom Seeds in Florida. I have 3 Florida specific planting guides, and those are based on my personal experience as well as my customers' personal experience, and I've used a couple of Florida specific info. Not only do I have a month-to-month planting guide, but I also have a list of specific varieties that will grow amazing in Florida. In the comprehensive planting guide, in the description section of this video, you will find, scroll down a little bit, and you'll have South Florida, Central Florida, and North Florida. And if you scroll, you've got January to December. If you scroll past December, you've got those links to specific varieties that will grow there. So Florida gardeners and Texas gardeners, you have a lot of great information specific for you that some of our other regions don't have. Now, if you are in a specific region and you would like me to create a month-to-month planting guide for you, send me an email. I'm always up for a challenge, and I'm always happy to help people grow a healthy garden. I just met 2 awesome people, and they said that Louisiana was struggling and their area was struggling with growing seeds, and they hadn't even started planting, and I handed them a box of seeds from our donation program and said, have at it, because if there's anything that makes my day, it is making people excited about growing food from seeds. So if you've got specific questions, if you aren't sure what to do, send me an email. I will also say this: have patience. I am Mary of Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I don't have an army of staff working on seed orders and answering phones and answering emails. I actually answer every email that comes through that I see anyway. I answer it personally. So if you've got questions, you'll actually get me to answer. So anyway, off topic. Beans were the last thing I mentioned, and summer squash is something that I really wanted to mention as well. There are a bunch of different varieties of summer squash, and I know I've said this a couple times, and I sound like a broken record, but whatever. Asia says expect an email from me. I'm always happy to help you. And Asia posted in my Mostly Feral Gardeners group today. Hello, Mostly Feral Gardeners group, which is super funny that I'm wearing this shirt. I have a Facebook group called Mostly Feral Gardeners, and it's specifically to Mary's Heirloom Seeds. And Asia Joe had purchased or received seeds from another company, not Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and what was growing wasn't what was on the label of the seed pack. So I was able to help her identify what those seeds, what those peppers actually were compared to what she thought they were. So again, there's so many varieties of peppers, and there was the whole Peppergate a couple of years ago, maybe last year, the year before. I will say this, that Mary's Heirloom Seeds was never affected by Peppergate, and I did a little bit of research, and I had actually a customer ask me, hey, am I going to be worried about buying weird seeds from you? And I did a little research, and there was some feedback from people that had done a little more research than I did, and a lot of that was seeds that might have come from China, and then it was smaller companies that were repackaging those seeds, and oops, now there's sometimes major companies and they made a mistake. So you won't find that info, you won't find those issues with Mary's Heirloom Seeds. We are very careful about our pepper seeds. But I wanted to give you a couple of honorable mentions for summer squash before I get into the fall crops. Yes, Christian, I am honestly, on some days I am darn right feral. But mostly feral gardeners. As you can see, this was my you can't grow food in that area, but watch me. And I always say this, like I said, I sound like a broken record. When I first moved here to Texas, someone took the time to tell me that there's no way that I could grow a garden in July in East Texas because it's just not possible. Cheryl says I've had it happen where they grew from another seed company. What wasn't I purchased? Yeah, and unfortunately that happens, and I haven't had that here. So I politely reminded this gentleman that sent me this rude email that, watch me. So July 1st, I planted seeds, and it was white scallop squash, which I happen to have right here. By the way, I'm glad you're listening to me because I've got some information that I want to share with you in a minute. Hey, Catherine, thanks for joining me. Feral sounds like my people. LOL, the things I've done that shouldn't grow. Man, I break the rules in the garden all the time, and I thoroughly enjoy it. White scallop squash. I planted seeds July 1st, 2021 in a brand new garden. I didn't have all the fancy equipment. I had 0 raised beds. I just had a delivery of compost that I, by hand, with a wheelbarrow, hauled from one spot on the property onto another spot of the property. I made little rows, and I planted those seeds. I didn't have any fancy equipment. I didn't have any expensive raised beds or anything. Obviously, you're looking behind me and you've got what looks like it took a lot of time, because it did. Because between my husband and I, we built all of these beds, and I filled all of these beds with a wheelbarrow. It's possible to do all these things. It just takes a lot of work and a lot of sweat. But white scallop squash, I was able to harvest in 42 days. Again, literal blood, sweat, and tears, because I don't do anything. I don't do anything with half a heart. And when I have failure, sometimes I get a little bummed out, but I just pick myself up, get back to work, and see what I can do to make it better next time. So for those of you just joining me, welcome. For those of you that join me regularly, welcome back. I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. I try to help you grow the healthiest garden possible. And I try to be your cheerleader when you have some successes, and I commiserate with you when maybe you have some failures. So if you've got any information, any questions about information that I share, you can send me an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. Now, let's talk about fall stuff. There's some fall crops. If you are in an area that has a shorter growing season, you want to find your first frost date. I use the Old Farmer's Almanac because it's easy, and I enter my zip code. And from there, it tells me what my average estimated first frost is. This is not a guarantee. You need to check your weather as it goes. Last year we had a frost at the last day of October here, so I lost 2 weeks worth of growing season. But have no fear, I have some positive stuff for this year as well. So use that and count back. So your first batch is going to be 90 days, and that's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. You can plant literally everything I just mentioned is less than 90 days. So you still have time to plant all those. But you can plant beets, carrots, parsnips, rutabaga, globe onions, sprouting broccoli. Sprouting broccoli is going to be different. So that's going to be your calabrese. That's going to be your purple sprouting broccoli. That's not necessarily your heading broccoli like your Waltham and your Romanesco d'Italia. Pole beans, bush beans, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, peas, chives, and I'm sure there's a bunch more, carrots. So all of these are 90 plus days, or at least 90 days from seed to harvest. So you want to count back from here, it's November 12th, and I would count back 90 days from them, and I would say, okay, that's when I should be planting them. But I would also maybe consider adding maybe 5 to 10 days for germination. I had a customer mention that they planted broccoli seeds and had them germinate in 24 hours. So everybody's different, but in general, I say plan on maybe 3 to 10 days for germination. Our seeds are pretty spectacular, but sometimes nature happens and you need a little extra time. Jackie Jack says, what are the best seeds to put in a nearly full shade area? Now, I would say off the top of my head, greens. Greens are super easy. They will grow in mostly shade and they will thrive. But I also have a video. If you scroll back through some of my live videos, you'll find the video specifically where I'm sitting in front of mostly an empty area because this garden hadn't been completed yet. It's still not completed. I'm still adding to it. But there's a lot of information there about what you can grow in partial shade, mostly shade, and just mostly full sun actually. So that video is really helpful. I hope you go and check it out. It is good. So on top of that, I wanted to share with you some fall tomatoes. Asia Joe says, just started selling Pinterest Chef and hosting online parties so I could purchase some seeds and soil. Awesome. Well, congratulations on your ingenuity, making some money so you can buy more seeds. Asia Joe, next time you place an order, I'd be happy to send you some extras. For those of you just joining me for this video as well, I mentioned 2 varieties of squash. If you'd like one free with your next order, thank you for joining my live video. Use the special instructions section. Don't add it to your cart. Use the special instructions section and say, Mary, you offered me free seeds. It's either black beauty zucchini or white scallop squash. Let me know what you'd like. Try to be nice about it, not gimme. Manners are always helpful, but let me know that I offered you some free seeds and I'll include them with your order. Do not add them to your cart, just add them to the special instructions section. Now, Inca says I had planted Brussels sprouts and they just decided to form their sprouts. Awesome, that's very good. Now, if you are in Texas and Florida, you have time to plant seeds for tomatoes for fall. Now, I have a list for Texas and I've got a list for Florida, so bear with me here while I go with you on those. Black for Texas, black cherry, Amana's orange, Azoyska, absolutely beautiful, blonde Kampfchen. Give me 1 second. I literally just harvested these. Blonde Kompchen. I'm just winging it here because I'm not really good at pronouncing German. From what I understand, it means little blonde girl. And look at these beautiful tomatoes. And they're so, so sweet. All right. Sorry, had to. So amazing. Cherokee purple, cream sausage, chocolate stripes, green zebra, Paul Robeson, Japanese black trifle. Oh my goodness, I had a plate of those at lunch. Matt's wild cherry and Mexico midget. See that right there? That is a massive 4x8 bed full of Matt's wild cherry and Mexico midget. They are amazing, and their regions they come from warm regions, so they're still producing. It's not even like, oh, it's over 90 degrees, they're not going to produce anymore. They are still pumping out some amazing tomatoes. You can probably see the red tomatoes there. And so that is for Texas. If you're in Texas and you've got plenty of time, plant those seeds. You've got plenty of time for a fall harvest of tomatoes. Now, if you're in Florida, these are specifically, you can plant the varieties I just mentioned for Texas, but some of these are also more humid tolerant, like the Marglobe tomato, specifically for Florida. Some of them were adapted specifically for Florida, like the Homestead and Floridade. If you're not familiar with that, there's a Homestead Florida. Aptly named, right? So for Florida, we have a Zoichka, black cherry, Cherokee purple, blonde Kompchen, again, my beautiful golden tomatoes, Floridade, Homestead, green zebra, mortgage lifter, Roma, pink brandywine, Matt's wild cherry, and Mexico midget. So these are all specific tomato varieties that you can plant from seed, and they will grow well in your area. Now, if you are not in the hot as heck areas of the US like Texas and Florida, there's still hope for tomatoes. We have one variety of tomato that can be harvested as early as 40 days from transplant. And that is, I'm going to completely butcher the name, but it is Quedlinburger Furlieb tomato. I just call it Q tomato so I don't have to pronounce it every single time. And that is 40 days from transplant. So fantastic variety if you've got a super short season, if it's really cold in your area, or maybe you just got a late start and you still want tomatoes. Or maybe you're in a region, maybe you're in a more wet region, and that is a great option for you as well. Let's see, where can I get turmeric to plant? I don't have an answer for you on that one. If you're looking for seed garlic, we do still have some seed garlic available. It's at marysheirloomseeds.com. Let's see, Asia Joe says, Asia Joe, if you're looking for garlic information, check out Mary's Heirloom Seeds and just use the search option for garlic, and you'll have a list of different varieties, but also my planting guides for garlic. Let's see. Krista says, I'm glad you mentioned tomatoes. I was hoping I still had time. And absolutely. Now, Krista's right down the road from me. There's a couple of you joining me here that are local that the information that I am sharing specific to my area is perfect for you. So I'm done with the heat. It's starting to cool down a little bit, but it's still pretty warm. As I mentioned earlier, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out marysheirloomseeds.com. Check out the description section of this video and you'll find information. You can sign up for my email. There's a link there to sign up. And there's so much information in my comprehensive planting guide. Pretty much everything I shared with you today is there. It just depends on what you're looking for. You can use the search option, or you can just send me an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. Alrighty, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy planting. I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off, and I hope you have an awesome week.